Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
Check. What up, world? It's the man with the plan, Burt McGurk, aka PR, the King of Hearts, and you are now tuned into Clocking Out, the podcast you listen to when you need to get motivated and inspired to doing bigger and better things. What is going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Clocking Out. We are live today on X, aka Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. I want to thank everyone who's been showing love and support lately, tuning into our live streams as well as watching our pre-recorded episodes and showing love to all our guest speakers. Today we have Savy on, and I would like to thank you for taking the time to come on. I've been wanting to reach out with you. I was curious on learning more about your story and who you are. I've been seeing you do your live streams with your daughter on X, as well as I've been seeing you. I'm pretty sure I've bid against you on some of these on some of these live streams too to get some of these VFriend things. So it sparked my curiosity. I went in, I checked out your profile. I saw a couple things that you were sharing and doing, and it made me want to learn more. So if you could please just take a second, introduce yourself, say your name, your age, where you're from, and a little brief history behind who you are so people can get a better idea of who Savy is.
Thank you. Well, first, I just want to say thank you for having me on. I love being a part of this community, and any opportunity that I get to share with others and just see new things. It's so exciting. So I am at SavyD on Twitter. Everyone just calls me Savy, but I'm a mom. of two kids, a 5-year-old, soon to be 6, and a 14-year-old. I am a wife of the most amazing man who is literally my partner in everything, and my safe place, the place where I'm truly at peace and happy. He's what I want in everything and in life, and we do everything together. As far as who I am, it's so hard to kind of dwindle yourself down to a set amount of words. I could talk all day about that, but for history, I find that I identify myself most as a warrior. From the moment that I was born into a very tumultuous situation with a home environment when I was younger that was drugs, and that was the priority. And so I didn't really have parents that took care of me or loved me. In fact, the opposite. And I'm going to be very deep and very honest. Part of that is, for me, I had a really big revelation in my faith and as a believer in Christ about 3 years ago. And part of what I truly believe is my purpose in life is to spread light and to show others that there is no darkness that cannot be overcome. And I truly believe that every experience I have had in my life is that testimony for others to be able to see that. So by the age of 5, I had already endured physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. I was raped by my stepfather. I was then moved into a home with an aunt and uncle where I was continuously abused, malnourished. I then went into a home with my other biological parents, my biological father and stepmother. By the time that I was 5, I had 2 people try and end my life. By the time that I was 12, I had tried to end my own life 3 or 4 times. I had small reprieves of light during my years with family that I spent time with. And I truly believe that it was in those moments that I held on to and was able to survive because of those moments of light that helped me to step through. But I endured a significant abuse and attempts on my life for many years, up until about the age of 11, when I was placed into foster care. And from 11 to 18, I was in foster care, a lot of different foster homes. I dealt with abuse in the foster homes. I dealt with sexual abuse. I dealt with drugs and alcohol, and just a lot of crazy madness in all those spheres growing up throughout high school. I was always a worker though, but I've worked since I was 11 years old, from like doing pancake breakfast at the local American Legions to, and just getting like tips off of that, to when I was legally able to work in California at 14, my first job in retail. And I haven't stopped. I'd never stopped working till 2021 was the last year that I held a regular job. But uh, I am a veteran. At the age of 18, I emancipated. I was still in high school. I was in my senior year of high school. I emancipated from the system, got my own apartment, finished out my senior year of high school, did a little bit of college, had some issues with funding for financial aid. I was on Section 8. I was on food stamps. I was on all the programs, trying to and I was working too, just trying to keep it up and go and achieve and get out of where I was. And it didn't work. It all kind of fell apart. So I ended up joining the Army. We like to say for 3 hots and a cot. So I got my.
And what is what's like the definition behind, like, for people who aren't, like, I don't understand, what does that mean?
So like, people ask you why you joined the military, right? So my response is 3 hots and a cot, which is 3 hot meals a day and a place to sleep.
Gotcha.
I didn't really have anyone that I have family. But at this point in my life, with all the trauma that I had endured, I really truly believe that the people who were my family didn't care. I now have gone through my healing and been able to discuss things with people from my past. And now I get to see things from a completely different perspective. And I'm super grateful for that. But at the time, I would have told you I have no one. And so I needed a paycheck, a place to live, and food to eat. And that's what the military was able to provide me. And then in addition to that, it also provided me a huge opportunity to start being able to actually really start seeing value within myself of who I was, to be proud of something I was doing, to have that pride in myself and my accomplishments. Unfortunately, I plan to do a 20-year career in the military and retire out. In 2010, November 2010, I was in Afghanistan, and I endured under a mortar attack, and I have TBI and spinal cord damage as a result of that. And so in 2012, I ETS'd out of the military. I transitioned out of the military with a completion of active duty and went into inactive reserves because I was supposed to have spinal cord surgery, which didn't happen for a few years. But yeah, and since then I worked, pretty much just kind of made myself worse with all of my injuries and symptoms and conditions, prioritized a lot of that stuff, and then ended up getting really, really sick in end of 2020. The beginning of 2021, I was in and out of the hospital. They kept saying I was having histamine responses, that I was having anaphylactic reactions. They couldn't explain why. And it turns out that I was diagnosed with a condition called mast cell activation syndrome. And essentially what that is your body, when you have an allergic reaction, your white blood cells attack things, right? To try and heal it, to make it better. So you have an anaphylactic reaction, your body responds, your immune system responds. My body is broken. They believe from the spinal cord damage, as well as I had arsenic poisoning growing up in the homes that I lived in. I was poisoned with rat poison several times. What? And so I had that within my system, as well as all of the chemicals that I've been around, burn pits, things like that. So it's just a lot of things that my system overloaded and just broke. So now my body, I could smell the wrong kind of air and my body will go into anaphylaxis. Those mast cells will go into my organs. So I'll have an anaphylactic reaction in my heart muscle, and that'll be like a heart attack. I'll have stroke-like symptoms where I'll have partial paralysis and drooping in my face, due to the mast cells getting into my brain. Um, so this is a condition that I've finally just this year have started finding treatments that are helping to mitigate my symptoms, but it is something I'll have to live with for the rest of my life. Um, and so that's something that I'm dealing with. On top of that, with the spinal cord damage, and then I actually just got my surgery date, May 9th. I will be having a double mastectomy with reconstruction due to masses in my chest, and so hopefully that'll take some pressure off my immune system. But lots of crazy madness ahead. So, but yeah.
I hear you. First and foremost, I want to thank you for your service because I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been in that situation or in that point where you have to make a tough decision. I myself also felt like I didn't have anything else, and I was leaning towards going to the military myself. And it would have happened if it wasn't for like my parents and stuff telling me like they really didn't want me to go, and it was literally right before 2010, and yeah, so I can just imagine, and everything that you went through before and during that, and now everything that you're dealing with, and going through after. Like, it's just a lot of stuff. I can only imagine. And then on top of that, to be a mom, and a wife, and it's not easy just hearing everything. I can only imagine what it is, but to see you here and then always see you on live with a smile on your face and always being positive and everything, it's just, I really want to show people that, even through horrible times like that, it's like you're saying there's light and all that, and the first thing I wanted to ask, going through all this and talking about your faith and everything, what was it? What was it? Everything that was going on, something specific that happened, because of course there's so much that happened. But what because I don't know how else to say, but I would look at it like it's like why, why me, or why, you get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Anyone would just question why me, or isn't it enough? Like, when's enough, or when does it stop? You get what I'm saying? And it's like,
Absolutely.
so it's like, what keeps your faith? What keeps your light? What's your light at the end of the tunnel? What keeps you from getting from being absorbed from all of that darkness and all of what I'm saying? Like, what's your light?
Absolutely. Um, So I think that the first thing to say is like, before I came back to Christ, before I understood um, my relationship with God and what that looked like for me, and I know that that's not everybody. Like, not everybody has faith in God, or they might have faith in other culture, religion, whatever the case may be. So for me, I grew up around religion, but I grew up around the fire and brimstone kind for the most part. And so I struggled with that because I felt like I was doing something wrong my whole life to have all these bad things that were happening to me. So I had this perspective as I went through all of those things. And that built a lot of resentment and a lot of anger and a lot of bitterness. But for me, it translated into drive. Now, I will say this is a factor to the question you asked as well, as far as like, what point is it enough? Is it a precipice? Um, the light I spoke of earlier throughout my childhood came from my grandparents and my a specific aunt and uncle. Um, both of them were retired. Both of them were military. My grandfather retired from the Navy. My uncle in the Marines, and both of them are men of faith, Christ-like, Christ followers, that they believe that we are meant to love God and to love others, and like without exception. There's no conditions to love. The same way God does not have a condition to how he loves us, we are not to have conditions on how we love others. And so they getting glimpses of that gave me hope to get through a lot of things. And I always felt like I was never quite good enough. I hadn't done enough. I hadn't been accomplished enough. And then with all the stuff that happened with my illness and me going down, I was in a really, really dark place, because I believe that we as individuals have pillars, right? We are built as we are born and grow with our environments, with the nurture, with the nature, with all these aspects of things. We are built, but our character is really built with these pillars that support who we are as individuals. And one of my pillars is like my pillar, kindness and nurturing. I'm a very motherly figure. Even before I was a mother, I was the one where everybody be drunk out in the club, and I would make sure everybody got home, no matter what state I was in. I was always like, okay, drink water, get home. Like, I was that, there's always one, but I was
Yeah,
the mom.
exactly.
Yeah, even at 19 or 20 or 21, I was the mom. And I think that comes also from like that trauma and stuff. Another one of my pillars was my work ethic, what I could provide. And so when I got really sick, and it was to the point where like hospitalizations, bed, being in bed, not being able to get out of bed, my pillars began to break down. What I had built myself up as and what I understood myself to be, I couldn't take care of anybody else because I couldn't even take care of myself. And I couldn't work, I couldn't provide. So in my eyes, I was just like nothing. And so it was in that time frame, my uncle, who was just, he was my hero. He was someone who would do anything for anyone, no matter what. If he saw somebody sitting on the street, he would stop and not just like give them money or do something like that. Like, he had full on conversations with people because he felt led that that was what he was supposed to do. He took care of people when he was in the military as a leader. He took care of his family. And he always represented that. And then he got sick in August of 2021. And then within a couple of weeks, it was September 1st of 2021, he died. He passed away. And I felt an emptiness and a darkness that I had never experienced in my life. And I did have a moment where everything was just empty and just completely, I had no feeling. And I literally broke down and on my knees, and I was like, God, how could you do that? This man, like, I'm sitting here useless, but yet I'm alive, and yet you have this man who is showing the world what Christ-like action looks like. He's loving his family. He takes care of people. He has this honorable service to his country behind him. Like, he's just starting to live a life outside of the military where he can be with his family, and like all these things. Why would you do that? And I was broken. I had prayed up while I hadn't prayed in 10 years. And before he passed away, I was praying like every single day, all day, just for him to be okay. And literally the day after his passing, or maybe 2 days later, his daughter sent a message out to be telling her mom, and my aunt had shared it, telling her mom, like, what is happening, we may not understand, and we're going to feel what we feel, but God has a purpose. And in our pain, there is always purpose. And Dad knew that, and he loved others and unendingly and without question and without condition. And the fact that his influence was even here is a gift. And we will grieve him for the rest of our lives, but we will also need to focus on how beautiful that gift is and have those tears of joy with those tears of sorrow. And she's like 14. And I literally, my whole body, I get chills now still thinking about it. Something snapped into place inside of me because I realized if this beautiful girl who just lost the pillar of her life can have this much peace and faith in it despite her pain, what could that do for me? Like, I want that so badly. I want that kind of peace, not just in this situation, but for my whole life that I've dealt with everything. Like, I don't want to hurt anymore. I'm so tired. I don't want to hurt anymore. And literally, I started praying and I was like, I want to find a church. And my grandmother sent me a couple of websites for churches that were near me. I looked at the website. I found one that I liked. September 5th of 2021, I stepped into the Rock Church in Spokane, Washington. And the pastor at the time, the new pastor is Danny Morris. I'm still part of the congregation. But the previous pastor, Zach Minton, he started talking, and the sermon that day was on brokenness. And it was on the brokenness of us as people and how we can be broken, but we're just not meant to stay there. We have to seek out healing and we have to repair. And that doesn't mean that even if we heal, we're never going to suffer again, but that we will need to seek it out again. And that we are meant to continuously seek out the light and be the light that others need. So that way we can heal and heal at the same time. And I need you to understand that I grew up, I was conditioned to understand that tears and showing emotion were dangerous. Yeah. Because it was a dangerous thing to do. And so when I tell you that I was sobbing in this church pew in the very back row, because I wasn't up front, right? I was in this very back row listening to this message and feeling like it was God speaking through Zach, speaking to me exactly what I needed to hear that day, exactly what I needed to hear to come back into it, to be in the fold, to understand I could be loved. I didn't understand the love of an earthly father, so I couldn't understand that there could be one greater that could love me. I didn't even value myself. Despite my accomplishments and what some would say are my accomplishments, I still to this day, because I'm still in the process of healing. I am not healed. I am every single day working on it. But it is to have a peace beyond understanding, to feel like, people can say it's imaginary and all those things, but I will tell you, I didn't understand it until I felt it. And it took me 33 years for it to happen. But when I truly said, I cannot do this alone, I am not strong enough by myself, and there is nothing in the world that is going to heal me the way I need to be, that openness to understanding that there could be a bigger thing and that I could have peace in it, and that it was provided for me through the grace and through blood. Like, it changed my life. It changed my perspective. I then was able to look back on 33 years of my life in all these moments of pain and hurt from the world and see that every single one of those, first of all, they could have been worse. And I know that sounds crazy. Like, how could it be worse, right? But I swear, looking back, I could see it. I could see how it could have been worse. And it wasn't. That there were things that happened that stopped these bad things that were happening in the world. There were interventions. And I know that was my protection. That was God not allowing things to be worse, to go further. And it was also stepping stones. It was stepping stones for me to gain endurance. It was stepping stones for me to build who I am. Because most people who hear about God and have felt pain in the depths of darkness, who have felt that sorrow and overwhelming darkness that constricts your throat and weighs your chest down, the people who have felt that, they don't want to hear somebody who has lived this life of happiness and joy and parents that were wonderful and all these nice things and all these opportunities, that don't know the struggle, that don't know the pain, they don't know where the darkness comes from. They don't want to hear somebody like that say, oh, you can have it better, you can be at peace. Because it's like, yeah, it's easy to be at peace when you don't have these demons flying around. And I'm gonna tell you, it is not easy every day. I've had a really hard last couple of days, just because of my environment and the added stress that's happening right now. My husband just had surgery, but he's healing up great, which is amazing. He's on his feet. But just all the extra stuff that was happening really started to pull me down, and I had a really hard time breaking out of that. So it is an everyday thing. It is an everyday decision to say, hold on, I'm starting to sink. I can feel it coming in. How can I? And I pray. I really do. I stop, no matter, other than when I'm driving. I won't close my eyes, I swear. But I will stop with whatever I'm doing and shut the world out, because the world it's too much, and I need that moment. And I teach my kids that too, that if you feel that pressure, everything starts to overwhelm, you don't have to keep trying to deal with it. There is nothing wrong with taking a step back to feel what you have to feel, and to breathe, and to get yourself into a better place in order to be what you need to be in that moment.
I fully agree with you. But what I wanted to ask you, being that you were talking about praying and everything, is because I'm one of those people. I'm not gonna lie. I struggle with praying. I do believe in God. I do have faith. But I'm one of those people that, in all honesty, I've been through a lot of things also myself. I'm another person that myself, like, even while you're talking, there was a lot of things that got me teary-eyed, because a lot of things reminded me of my dad and things that I've been through, and it just, I always looked at it like I wouldn't want to bother anybody, even praying, So you always get to that point, like, where do you bother him today, or her, or them, or do you ask for help today? Do you wait? Do you hold it? Do you wait for that one day? Is this the day? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the way that I've always looked at it. I never, so I, whenever there was a chance for me to really sit there and have an opportunity to really pray or talk to myself, or whatever it is you want to call it, which is what I wanted to ask you, like, what is like, how do you pray? Like, what, like, that's like, I know there's so many people that go like, well, how am I doing it right? Or I do it all the time and I don't get any results, or, like, you know what I mean? Is there a right or wrong way? Is there a right or wrong time? Like you mentioned it, you don't do it when you're driving or nothing, but I'm pretty sure there's times that you have conversations, or that you get these things, because it's like you said, you get these moments, man. And I don't know. That's why I believe the way that I believe. There's times that I'll be in the street and I just get these feelings like I need to go talk to somebody. And it's like, I don't do that. What the hell is wrong with me? And you'll be like, go talk to this person, or go see if they're okay, or go. And then it's just random, because it's like, it's not like you're going crazy and you're really hearing voices, but it's like you get this intuition, or like this gut feeling, and this thing. And it's like, it's more than just a thought. It's like this feeling, and
Yes.
it's an emotional feeling that just comes out of nowhere, and you feel it in the pit of your stomach. But at the same time, within a split second, it's like the decision makes sense, and the only reason you don't act on it is because you're confused, because it goes against of everything else that you've ever done. You're like, why would I go walk up to a stranger? Why do I care? Why go? You get what I'm saying? Like, those things
I
come
do.
up. Or if not, you get those things also where, if you really had a rough life, you're like, no one's done it for me. Why bother? What am I going to get out of it? What am I? So it's like, it's things like that that make me question, like, one, when, like, am I praying for the right reason, right or wrong? That's the first thing. Secondly, am I doing it the right or wrong way? Is there a right or wrong time to pray and speak to God, or to take the time and really, like, try and ask, or just take the time to really analyze your life and be grateful? You get what I'm saying? Like, a lot of things. But what do you feel is the right way or the wrong way, or the right or wrong time to pray? Or does that even exist? Is there a right or wrong way to any of it?
So, oh God, I love hearing this because I know exactly what you're talking about. I know those feelings, and I used to do the same thing because we are taught in the world, first of all, you need to protect yourself. And that means you don't show vulnerability. You don't like give somebody an opportunity to take advantage of you. But so I'm a logical person. I always have been. I was the person who always said, like, oh, what's the science against it? Can science prove it, that God's real, all this other stuff, right? So I know that. And it's like, well, also, like, why did I have to even go through it? Like, couldn't I learn this without having to, deal with somebody doing this crap to me?
Yeah.
And not just once. Like, do you think I didn't learn how to be strong from one time? Like, it had to happen so many times for me to feel it.
Exactly.
Like, for me to understand it. First of all, as far as prayer goes, prayer is a conversation. It's opening up that line of communication. And there is never a wrong way there's not a wrong or a right way to do it. I think that so many people think that, you have to have this, dear God, like, I'll tell you, for me, and my way is not going to be your way, because there are days where I fucking scream at God. There are days where I cry and I just say why over and over and over again. There are days where I see every good thing about the world because it is present in my face, in my children. And I thank God over and over repeatedly, because that light exists despite all of the darkness that could have been. There's this now. So no, there's not a wrong way. There's not a right way, because it is what you feel. And, it was really hard for me when I first started praying and, like, trying to be open to listening to God. People say that they don't like, prove it, make a sign, right? But it's funny because there's actually a story in the Bible where God is asked to prove what he's capable of. So he keeps this fur outside of his tent. The disciple keeps fur outside of his tent. And he says, if you truly are God, then make it rain and wet this fur, right? And then God makes it rain and wets this fur. And he goes, well, that could have been a coincidence. If you're really God, blaze the sun so severely that this dries instantly. And then it happens. And that happens over and over again. And one of the things that I've learned that I truly believe people need to understand is that the Bible itself, it is not a book of rules. It is a book of examples of how many times we fucked up and how many times God has forgiven and tried to develop us as our Father to be better and to be whole, because that's what he really wants for us at the end of the day. And the Old Testament, I really truly believe, is just all these examples of how many times someone can prove to you, and then if you forget so easily in those moments, right? In the beginning, when I started hearing those callings, and I would ignore them, but when I changed, when I tried to start changing, and when I started going to this church, one of the sermons that they did was on saying yes, right? God will ask you for something in that way, where he puts it in you, where you feel that power, that need, that sudden thought that doesn't make sense necessarily, and you don't understand the reason behind it, but there's a bigger picture to it. He's asking you to say yes. He's asking you to do this thing because it can make a difference. And one of the things that I have built my life on, as a part of the V Friends community, I gravitate to the kind warrior. And the reasoning behind that is that, one, I've had to fight my whole life, but also that at the end of the day, kindness can change everything. And what you do in those moments when you feel that calling, it could just be a kindness that sparks something in someone else, or it creates that ripple effect that's needed for someone else to not have to say, no one ever did it for me, because you will have. And people talk about, like, it's hard at times, and there's times where even in my own kindness, I have to correct myself about my expectations, because I try not to have expectations with kindness. It's not what it's meant for, right? You're supposed to give unto others without expectation.
Exactly.
But it does hurt. We're still human beings with feelings. And if you have someone who doesn't recognize that, or you have someone who takes that and turns it into something bad, it hurts. And you have this feeling that starts where it's like, you start thinking like, and then that fire, that warmth, that pain in your chest that starts. But I've learned how to stop it. And you look at it and you say, maybe this person didn't take it and use it the way I had intended them to. But you don't know who is standing around watching that, and it's changing them more than it ever could have. And maybe that is the reason. That is the purpose. What I do and what I try and be, and what I believe God has called me to be, is that light without condition. It is so freeing, but also it is work. It is not, you do not feel pain or hurt. I am still enduring, and I still have my days. But one of the things that I think that people who will tell you, you're not supposed to question God, right? God is big enough for it. He's big enough for the question. So if you don't question him because you think, oh, I shouldn't do that, like that's not the right thing to do, he'll get offended or whatever, you're saying he can't handle my questions. I've always been a curious mind. And so for me, being told my whole life, you just don't question it. Well, guess what? There are answers. Sometimes those answers are weird, and sometimes they require faith, but there are answers if you look for it. It's a whole study of a theology. But I think what people don't understand is that in Matthew, Jesus, who died on the cross to save us, who was a sacrifice of all sacrifices, he was the final covenant, the final promise that we didn't have to fear anymore, that we could have peace in him. And one of the things that he said was, you are to love God and love others. When asked what the greatest commandment was, in an attempt to try and trick him and get him to say something he shouldn't have, right? When he was being, because even this perfect being who literally is he's capable of sin because he's a man. He endured temptation, but he didn't succumb to it. And that's his difference between us and him, and why he was the perfect sacrifice, and why he was the covenant, because of that fact. And the thing that I find the most amount of peace in is, while he was alive and creating disciples and spreading the message and trying to get people to understand, he knew what was going to happen, but he continued on this path because he knew people needed to know that we're not alone, that we don't have to be alone in it, that yes, we will be tempted, darkness will exist around us, that we are not going to be able to change the world back to perfection, but that there is a hope of perfection and a place where there is no pain, there's no suffering, there's no ideology or religion. It is just a place where you are loved and you are whole in all parts of who you are. You don't have to heal, you will be healed. And that's the goal. Here on earth, I prayed for a long time. My journey in health has been very long, and I prayed very hard for a long time to be healed. Because I did. When was it enough? Why can't I be healed? I'm on this path. I'm trying to do good. I am spreading kindness. I'm spreading light. I'm putting others first, and not for anything. Let me be straight about this, right? But having an honest conversation with God, because I mean, he knows it anyways. Might as well tell him, right? Is like, why can't I be healed? When I see these others who are being healed around me, why can't I be healed? Why can't I stop feeling this pain? Why can't I stop finding my place in a place of panic and fear when I have these memories come back up? Even though I'm supposed to be like in peace, right? But one thing that happens is I talk about it now. I talk about it without shame anymore, which is the thing God has done for me. He has taken this situation and my life, which I had so much shame for and about, and I didn't want to share because I did not want people to pity me or to see my weaknesses, what I perceived as weaknesses for what has happened to me. There was so much shame. And God took that away from me. And what that has done is it's allowed me to share everything that has happened to me without hesitation. I'm able to share honestly. I'm going to share openly. And some things that people don't want to talk about because they have that fear and it brings things up, I'm able to share these things now and show people it is hard, but there is something worth it. There is a peace that is worth it. And I can't make anyone believe. I am not capable of it. That's not by my pay grade. That's not my job, and it's not my purpose. My purpose is to tell you and to tell everyone who gives me the opportunity and anyone who will listen. I endured and I have suffered and I have felt pain, and I continue to endure and to suffer and to feel pain. But there is light. I have 2 siblings from my biological father. I have 6 from my biological mother. 2 of my brothers, one in February of this year, the other in, I actually found out the day of the big game stream for V-Friends. My brother, one of my older brothers passed away. Just the September prior, another one of my brothers took his life. I have one brother who's in jail and for murder, and he'll be there for a while. And then my sister is battling her demons through a pipe and trying to suppress those things with crystal meth and alcohol. And I have one other brother who owns his own business in Huntington Beach. The 2 of us, he's gone about it a little differently. He doesn't talk about things, but he just goes. He drives. I don't want anyone else to ever feel like my brothers did, like they are so alone that they no longer have a purpose on this earth and they have to go. That's the only answer to their pain. I'm strong enough to feel it. I've learned that. I have moments where I understand that I am strong enough to endure this because it is going to make light in proportion to the darkness and more. For every bad thing that has happened to me, I have committed myself to being the light times 10 for those things, to counteracting the bad in the world in every way that I can, in any facet for anybody, whether it's in a moment of joy, giving a gift to someone, or it is in being listening, being someone who talks to somebody every day and tells them to keep fighting that day, whatever it entails. For me, physically, I am limited. And that is the hardest thing for me because my mind and my heart have no limitations on what they want to do. But there are so many organizations right now that I have found through the V-Friends community that are so powerful and are doing the things that I can't physically do, but I have the light and the drive to push them, to make sure everyone sees them and knows what that looks like, why they're doing it, what the darkness looks like, what we can go through and still feel a little bit more whole. And I'm going to tell you, this process was not overnight. I didn't come to Jesus on September 5th and then get baptized. It took me months to get baptized when I finally decided to get baptized, which is not baptism is not like okay, now you're clean. Baptism is a testament. It is saying, I believe. It is saying, I know that Christ died on the cross for me, that I am loved eternally, that I am given grace for no other reason than my existence, and that I am wanted. And I understand that. And because I understand that, I'm going to show everyone that I understand that in this way, to be cleansed of the pain and not just the sin. It's just not just about sin. It's also about the pain of the world and how much we allow into ourselves. I studied many religions for a long time, and one of them, Buddhism, you have this idea in the Buddhist religion culture where you are an orb. Your soul is an orb. And it is clear and clean inside. As long as you don't allow the things will always come upon it. Mud will be slung upon it. It'll get dirty. But if you have cracks and you start doubting from within, then you let that stuff inside of you. But those things can't penetrate you if you hold yourself together in the way that needs to be held together. And I truly believe that there are so many facets of so many cultures and religions that are the same, that we are one people. I love to cook. I've always been really big on cooking, bringing people together with food, because one of the things that I've learned is it doesn't matter religion, culture, nothing. You put a damn good meal in front of somebody and everybody's good. So with my adopted, my longest placement was with my mom. My mom, she was a group home mother who I was with from the time I was 13 till I was 18, minus a brief stint when I ran away. I traveled from California to Arkansas to go be with my biological mother, just to find out she was still with my stepfather. And so that was a nice little shock to have. That lasted a couple months. I actually basically became a concrete gypsy with this asphalt crew. And at like 15, I was running pavers, doing asphalt across the country. And I think it was in Colorado or Oklahoma we were in. I was in a hotel room with them, and my stepfather punched me and pushed me down some stairs. I was like, that's it. And so I ended up leaving. But that actually motivated her to leave my stepfather as well. And a couple of months after I got back into the system, she actually went to, it was December of the same year that I had left. It was August I left. That December, she went to Massachusetts, where our family is from, and stayed there and finally left him. And so like I had to endure what I did for those months, even though it was hard, because now she was able to take herself out of that situation because she saw what I did and the strength I had in it. And I told her, I said, I can't have anything to do with you like this. And she prioritized and said, this is more important. this joy, this relationship, what I have, it's more important, and I'm safer, and it motivated her to move, which was amazing. I ended up having to catch up a year. I essentially missed all of my sophomore year of high school except for like maybe 2 months. And so I did summer school, I did after school, and then I took classes at the college to make up credits. And I still, not only did I graduate on time from high school, I was the honored graduate for my class, and which was basically like the person who had to go through a lot of bullshit to get there. I was that person. But and also I graduated with extra credits, not just like the required. I think I had like 3 or 4 classes extra of credits because I kind of got carried away with history. But it's possible. It's not easy. And you cannot, listen, I have pity parties plenty of times. I'll step down and be like, why? But what I don't do is let those last for more than a small amount of time. I let myself feel it because we can't stamp down our emotions. I did that for so long. And by doing that, we create something even worse within ourselves. It is this ugly troll that creates this negativity within your own self and your own voice. And you already have enough bad voices in your head from everybody in the world. I don't need to add mine to it. And I have to fight against that because it's ingrained. 3-year process, I'm still not healed. I still hear those voices that in that negativity. I am a lot better now at replacing those voices with what would God say. One of the things I recommend for anyone who is looking for peace and understanding and wants to explore that in faith is pick up a Bible and read it. Look at it differently, though. If you read the Old Testament, look at it as an example of instances where human beings were given these miraculous signs and miracles and gestures of faith and love and kindness. And within 5 seconds of going, thank you, God, turned around and started fucking it all up again.
Yep.
And when you read the New Testament, you read where God's like, okay, we need something real. You need something you can relate to understand. And so here is my son put on this earth so you can see him and see an example of light. I'm not comparing myself to Jesus, but I do believe that's our purpose, because even it is said in the Bible for us, Jesus says we are meant to as we go, to spread our light. A lot of people actually mistranslate it. Says go out and spread the word of God, spread the light, the love, all that stuff. But one of the things it actually says is as we go. So that is not like necessarily, there are some people who are called to intentionally go out, but that's not to mean that we don't survive ourselves, that we don't live and support ourselves and create good situations for ourselves. I have a home that's probably, I don't like cleaning it because it's big, but it's big for my kids to run around in. You know, I could have a smaller home. I could have a cheaper car. I'm not like driving a Bentley or a Lexus or anything. It's a Chevy Traverse, and I can fit all the kids and a Costco trip. So there I am.
There you go.
Woo. But could I have less? Absolutely. Do we compare ourselves to people constantly? They have it worse than me. They had to endure more, or they don't understand because they haven't gone through what I've gone through. And what I will say in that, and what I have learned too, my children are 5 years old, about to be 6, and 14, just turned 14. My son, when he was 5, he got stung by a bee. And at 5 years old, that was the worst pain he had ever felt in his life. The worst pain I ever felt in my life up till that point was different. I had had different pains. The repercussion and the air explosion from an 80 millimeter mortar round within 100 feet of me is very uncomfortable. But he screamed in a way that I hadn't when I endured my pain. His pain, because it's different than mine, did not make it less of the worst pain he has ever felt in his life. That pain is going to create a memory for him, an understanding. It's going to rewire his brain. And now at 14, that's actually still the worst pain he's ever felt in his life, which thank God, because I don't know how I've managed that.
Yeah.
Listen, I will say this, the 5-year-old though, she's about to give me a run for my money. She's going to be the one that I'm taking to the doctor's office.
That's the last. She's the baby, the last one.
Oh yeah.
Oh, see, that's normally how it is. That's normally how it is. The baby's the terrible one out of everyone.
Listen, whatever eggs were left and whatever sperm was left, that was all the crazy left, because I call her, she identifies with the fearless fairy, and I call her that because she is truly fearless. Like when she gets in the moment of something, if she thinks about it, she'll be like, oh, I'm scared of spiders. But yet she has a bug kit where she literally picks up spiders constantly in the summer and puts them in there and just like watches them. And like, she doesn't want to touch it, but she has like the little pliers. Those things are so weak. That spider could get out real quick if it wanted to.
Oh, man.
But she's right on it, because in that moment where we don't let the world stop us, where we don't let everything that's been conditioned in our brain, when we say yes, when we have those feelings, because somebody on the other side of your yes is waiting for it. Somebody on the other side of your kindness is waiting for their world to change because of a spark. It could be something as small as, just a compliment on the way that they are dressed or look or something they're wearing. They could have been going through that day just in complete misery because they feel like they're worthless because their appearance. And that has literally changed their world and their opinion of themselves. I have seen people walk higher because with their heads held higher because of a compliment, or just like, ooh, that sweater is so cute, And I think that men actually have a harder time with doing that than women do, right? Because with women, it doesn't matter the gender, the situation, generally it'll just be seen as a compliment. Whereas, unfortunately, we have a society where there are instances where men can't give that positivity without it being misconstrued. And so there's a struggle there that I personally can't identify with, because I do have that freedom of being able to give a compliment and be kind. I would say in that, at times you have to just kind of find a way to work around it in how you express that, how you express yourself. Sometimes it has to be I've had instances where, there's a couple at a cafe or at a coffee shop where I just think that they're so cute because you can see that like love in their eyes and they're just so beautiful, and I want to tell them, like, I see this and what you guys have, it's affecting the world. It's putting light. It's giving me a spark of joy to see someone else finding love in a moment. But if I go up and tell somebody that, they're going to look at me like I'm fucking nuts. So I'll do things like, I'll just like get like an extra muffin or something and ask the barista to take it to him with a little note. Just say, love is beautiful. Thank you for being like, just something where I think it's easier for people to take kindness when it's not associated with a face. There are ways, and we have the calling when it's right for us. We have that moment, that pull where it comes up. When we are able to say yes to that and do those things in those moments, you just never know. I don't even know. I've done things my whole life. I have no idea the impact that I've had. There's things I've never seen the result of, helping. There was a couple, I remember one time I was coming home from work. I was absolutely exhausted. I worked at Cabela's, as a gun counter outfitter and firearms inspector. So I love my job, but it was Black Friday season. And so it was like the absolute worst time of year to work in retail. Anybody who's ever worked retail can tell you that. But I had to stop at Walmart on my way home to grab some milk, and then my freaking gas ding, 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 like, oh my gosh, not this too, right? So I get to the gas station, I pull in, and I see this couple at this other pump, and she's pregnant, and they've got this like little, it's a Subaru, like one of the Outback Subarus, right? And the whole thing from the front seats all the way to the back is just stuffed with stuff, right? So you can tell they're like moving. And so they're at the pump. I'm across from him, so I can see he puts like $10 in the tank, right? And they move the car while I'm still pumping, and they move it over to the side. And then I can see them on the side, kind of like counting their money out or whatever. I go into the store because I figure I'm going to get some coffee while I'm in here. I go into the store. The guy comes in at the same time as me. He's kind of looking around. He's getting snacks, looking to see what price they are, putting stuff back. And I realize, like I feel that feeling that you talked about earlier, right? It's that pull. I could have had my head down and been in my own head that whole time and just pumped my gas, got in my car, and left. But I felt pulled to look around. I felt pulled to focus. I felt pulled to go into that store and grab a coffee and be in there and seeing what I saw, And so I tried to make a difference. I made the difference. And it was beautiful. They were traveling across, she was pregnant. They ended up homeless where they were living because he had lost his job and she had lost her job. And they were moving back to like Oregon. They were passing through Idaho to get to Oregon where her family was, who were going to take them in. But they didn't have like a whole lot. So they thought they had enough to make it, but they weren't, like, they didn't know how they were going to get from the next point to the next point. But it was just like, I don't know what happened to them. Right. But what I do know is that God put me where he did. I could have let that ding. I know I got 42 miles when my gas tank dings. So I could have made it home, gone to sleep, and then gotten gas before I went to work the next day. I didn't have to stop, as tired as I was, and a second stop on top of that, right? Like, I think that it's so much easier to look back on those moments and see that. But when you're standing in it, you don't see what happens. And the biggest thing I will tell anybody, and this is not just religion, it's not just God, it's not just faith in this moment, right? Is that when you were in that moment where you were so close to it and it's so hard and you don't know how you're going to pass it, how you're going to get through it, there is a picture that is so much bigger that we can't see. And the same way you look back on those moments and go, damn, like that really did work out actually. You're going to have that moment with what you're in now. You're going to have that moment where you say, oh man, I am so glad I reached out. I'm so glad I put it out there that I wanted to do more podcasting and I wanted to do more conversations and I wanted to put this out so I could see it because the right people it's going to come into their sphere and then they're going to say yes. They're going to have a feeling and they're going to say, there's something here that I need to say and there's something I need to be a part of and to build. And we all have those moments. Call it intuition if you're not ready to call it God. But call it whatever you want. Say yes to it. There's a reason for it. We are designed, whether you want to believe it's because of the scientific reasons or because it is of my God, our God, which is where I land. I think we're too intricate for it not to be, but that's another part of it, right? But we are built with intuition and understanding. Our gut feeling is an actual, not only chemical, biological, but psychological processing reaction.
Yeah.
The hairs on the back of our neck, our peripheral vision, things we don't realize we see, but we do see, right? Memories that we go, I don't really remember that. But just because we weren't focusing on it doesn't mean it didn't process.
Exactly.
We are designed so specifically And we don't listen to ourselves nearly enough,
Nope.
whether it be in the good or the bad. That intuition it's there, and it's supposed to be fed on. The people I see who listen to it, Gary is one of those people. It's part of what drew me to him and continues to put me into the sphere of his conversations, is that he listens to that intuition. He listens to those hairs. He listens to that vision. He listens to that gut. And he tells people about it too. I don't want to be Gary Vee, because there's never going to be another Gary Vee, right? But what I do want to do is tell you to tell everybody. I understand the hesitation because of the pain. I understand what it looks like. I did not grow up with the love and the resourceful Robin of a mother, and the headstrong father, like, who's showing me the work ethic. But the reason why I'm able to still do the same things and believe the same things that Gary does is because he got it from learning from the source. I got it from learning to do the opposite. My family, my siblings, grown up in the same environments, don't necessarily have the same stances. 2 of them are gone now, taking their own lives. Jail, drugs. One has his own business, but he's running on pure spite, you know? It's the mask and the compartmentalization that is keeping him going. And I don't truly believe that that's going to last forever. But I'm going to tell you something. My brother in prison, I write him every day. My sister, who I've had to separate myself a little bit from her as far as communication, because there were some struggles there. But I still communicate with her often and tell her I love her and I care about her and I do want the best for her. Even though I can't let her take advantage of me anymore. And even though I don't want to be her like ATM and then have her using that for drugs without, like, and not actually doing the thing she has to. It's a tough love thing, right? It's like I've gone through the phases of trying to help somebody to get on their feet and to do the right thing, thinking that they were doing that, and then turns out they're just doing drugs the whole time.
Yeah.
So now I'm still going to support you, but it's not going to be with money, because you having money does not help you. This is with everybody. Everybody has a vice where if you have too much time, I'm one of those. If I have too much time and not enough responsibility, I go down into the darkness.
Same.
There are people who, if they have too much money, they go to the darkness.
True.
Right? Our vices are individual. We have to be self-aware enough to recognize them and to understand how to utilize, give ourselves what we need if the world can't give it to us, but also seek it. Seek others. I joined this community and have tried to go like all in on it because I see what kind of light it is producing. And social media was the one place that I had not ventured into very heavily because of the negativity, of the potential for I was scared because I see like what the internet and technology gets used for in the darkness. What I hadn't seen up until that point was what light could be produced from it. And now I have this opportunity to share with my children so they can see what light looks like on this platform. They can see what it looks like in the world. And so they can even better recognize what it's not supposed to be. When they see the darkness or the inappropriate comments or the people who are like a little bit sus, as my son would say,
Yeah.
they recognize that and their intuition, that gut feeling, because that gut is trained off of what you know. So if you only know the good, you recognize the bad so much more easily.
Yo.
When you know the bad, you recognize it. That's
Yep.
how we are built.
I
I
agree.
know. Sorry. I hope that I'm like doing this right. I always have
No,
this
no,
like,
you're doing great. And in all honesty, and it was even earlier. You had me like getting all emotional and everything because you were hitting a lot of trigger points and things, man. And it's things that it hits home. You know, it's there's a lot of things that I resonate with. There's a lot of things that I agree with you. That it's like they say when you hear a song and it really like you really it's like listening to music that you know when the artist says certain things it's not even without the beats or the instrumental or anything, just with the words alone you can tell that the person has really been through a similar situation or really understands off the way that they're expressing themselves. And it's like
mhm.
that listening to you, you know, and it really it hits home and it hits a lot of triggers. It gets me thinking about a lot of stuff. So I agree with you, and it kind of got to me there a little bit also. But no, you're doing amazing, and it's just crazy to see how you've been through so many different combinations of things, and it's not even from just your firsthand experience, but your experience through the people you care about, your family, your loved ones, and it's like even through then, like you're all I'm hearing is ways to get through it, not like complaining or nothing. And it's just crazy because in my head, like just listening to it, it's like, damn, like what the hell, you know? And to just see that you're still able to continue looking at things in a positive way and then still be the way that you are from what I see, how you present yourself and how you carry yourself and you know, from presenting yourself online or how you interact with the community. And it's just amazing, you know. The only way I can say this, real recognize real, you know. And it's just it's crazy because the reason it really got to me also, I guess it's like you said, it's one of those things that you avoid, but you know when it's something that's really meant for you or that you're supposed to hear or you're supposed to do, like you can't avoid it. And it's crazy that you're like I mentioned, I had questions set up and they were nothing pertaining to this. And what's really bugging me out is that for the past couple of days I've been like going through this little personal battle, I guess, of being in my head and dealing with things and getting to the point where I feel that I need to like pray about it or something along those lines, you know? And it's like I'm always like, nah, just, you know, stop it, get over it, or just, you know, just get through it, you'll be all right. And it's like weird little things that keep happening randomly. I look at it like, all right, that's a sign. Like, do something, or go pay attention, or go to church, or like, you know, little things like that. And I'm like, nah, let me just know. And it's just this is really bugging me out because you come on here and we're talking, and I didn't think this conversation was gonna take this route. And the fact that it is, like, the more I listen to it, it's like it's kind of getting to me because it's like, yo, this is kind of the stuff you've been avoiding, idiot. You get what I'm saying? So it's just I don't know. I guess it's something I needed to hear. So thank you. But but yeah, no,
I'm
like no, go ahead.
I feel absolutely blessed because I'm going to be honest with you. So, like you said, right? Like you that self-doubt is one of the hardest parts because even in okay, so I, to be clear, one of the things I want to say is like I try and make sure that I don't because there's always this like lure on social media to try and present happiness or success or these positive things to kind of make to transition things or kind of like tweak things to make them look better, right? To have this like shine. I guess I phrase it like that. There's this urge to do that, right? And I have the same urge because we want to present ourselves in the best light. It's human nature, right? We want to present ourselves in the positive, and so many people do it, right? It is the good stuff is important. The light is important. But where it comes from, that darkness, how it comes out of a darkness, that is important too. If we only show the good parts, then we end up in a situation where people will think that we don't understand the struggle or the hard parts. And so when others endure hardness, darkness, they think this isn't the normal because they only see what the other people are presenting as the light. And I think for me, one thing that I think people don't like express very often is that I have moments of my darkness where I am like, why? Where I cry, where I hurt. I have moments where memories push me into a place where I feel like I am hollow and aching. But when I am in the moments of joy, I am present in those moments of joy. When I get to see my daughter and how she expresses herself, or my son, and when he gets excited about something, I have tried very, very hard, and I've worked on it a lot for the last couple of years, is that we are going to have both versions. We're going to have the down moments. We're going to have the up moments. The thing is that the down moments, we are so much more likely to allow to completely envelop us and for us to focus entirely in them. Whereas in the moments of joy, we tend to always have that little, when is it going to be not this? And what I have found is that if I push myself to cut that voice off when I'm in that moment, to just focus on the thing or the doing or the minute, the smile, the laugh, the craziness, or whatever it turns into, if I really truly cut everything else off and am present in that moment changes me. It creates a light within me. It creates a memory that develops, and it gives me another grasp, another hold on my life. And I'm able to hold on to that because when the darkness does come around, I now have this beauty that is not tainted by the hurt. It is just what it is, and that joy in that moment. I try and feel whatever I am feeling in that moment as deeply as I can and as wholly as I can. When I'm with my children, I want them to see the positivity and the light, but I also don't hide anymore from them my pain. Because as much as I want to protect them, I need them to understand that it is okay to feel both and to be in both, to know what those both feel like. So I tell my daughter all the time, you have every right to feel your feelings. That doesn't mean your feelings get to affect everybody else around you, but sometimes she will tell me, I just need a minute to feel my feelings. And she'll go cry in her room for a second, and then she'll come back out. She'll be like, okay, I got that out. I feel better. All right, now I'm ready to talk about this and have a conversation on it, you know? And she's 5. So
she's pretty mature for a 5-year-old. It's crazy.
Take over the world, I'm telling you.
Yo.
It's like the saying is, do as I say, not as I do, right?
Yo. And
my husband and I were talking about that today because he's struggling with some things as far as like his health with the VA and stuff like that, and feeling like he's like deserves certain aspects of care and things like that, which is crazy, right? But it's crazy to me because I value him more than I value myself at times. And so even though I've had the same thoughts of like, well, I shouldn't ask for this or expect this or want this, because if I want it, then somebody else might not get it, and somebody else might just deserve it more. It's like when you go to a store and you see the last of something on a shelf, right? There's 2 of something, but you want both of them, but you don't take it because you're like, oh man, what if the next person is not there for them, right?
Exactly.
But then one of the things that I've come to recognize is that what if nobody else wants it? And now that thing just sits there. Now, True. If I got somebody standing there looking for, I literally in the grocery store, my husband laughs at me all the time because this happens often. People just strike up conversations. I have that face, that aura, that personality or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so this lovely lady, we were both looking for these chips because the Safeway app gives you like a free item every week.
Yeah.
And so we're both looking for the chips. And literally me and her separated the store. I was doing grocery shopping with my husband, right? But I was like, okay, babe, you go get the rest of the stuff on the list. Me and this lady I just met 5 seconds ago, she's going to take the left side. I'm going to take the right. We're going to see if we can find these chips and where they put them.
Oh my God.
And you know what? Like, we didn't find them, but it totally made like both of our days to just like commiserate over the fact that these chips were gone. And we didn't get our free item for the week. But like things like that, it's like, I could have just said, no, I just need to get the grocery shopping done, be done with it. I don't know. I can tell you, I saw her leaving and she had a smile on her face. So I know that it was probably silly and crazy or whatever the case may be for us to go and do that. It took less than 5 minutes of my time, but it took something, it gave her something that I don't know how that affects her. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I'm okay with it. I don't regret it. I don't feel like it was a waste of time, because whatever happens with it, it's out there now.
Exactly.
I think when we are hesitant to love others and to be kind to others because of our own trauma, our own understanding of the world, the way that we've been conditioned, I ask that you and anyone else watching this, that when you have that calling to love others, that you take that moment and say, this needs to be in the world. It just needs to exist. This kindness, I can't control where it goes other than from me out into the world. Whether or not somebody grabs onto it and uses it, or how they grab onto it and use it, no control whatsoever. But this needs to exist because it's going to make the world better somehow. I may not see the follow through, and that's okay. But believe truly and wholeheartedly, even if you don't understand how, that kindness, that light being put into the world, it's going to change something for the better, for the good. And the more you do that, my daughter Ella talks about how we all have buckets that need to be filled, right? And that you can take out of somebody else's bucket too by being unkind. But one of the things people don't realize is that filling someone else's bucket fills yours too.
Yep.
If that girl doesn't come up with the most amazing analogies,
That's crazy, man. Yeah.
right?
That's it. That's real pure. That's real pure.
I listen to her. I let her talk. I don't ever tell her to not, like, if I'm doing something, I do try and like pause her and try and get her to understand, like, we need to allow other people to complete sentences, no matter how excited we are.
Exactly.
But I didn't grow up like that. I want my kids to have it. I had this, I'm at least stubborn enough that I'm able to do it now. But when I was younger, like, I still had these thoughts, these deep, meaningful thoughts, right? I was the kid who watched the History Channel and not the cartoons. Nobody liked that, right? I asked questions, but I was told to shut up and sit down. And if I was stubborn about it, I got hit for it, right? And so, despite all of that, I am telling you, it is nothing short of divinity that has made me who I am, because it could have turned any way. I could have got quiet. I could have succeeded in what I tried many times. I could have decided not to fight it and just go to the streets. I have so much love and empathy for those who are in a position of struggle, people who are homeless, people who are in addiction, because I am one choice away from all of those things. I was one circumstance working in my favor away from homeless. I have tried drugs. I tried hard drugs to numb my pain, to find joy where I couldn't, to try and quiet the demons inside of me. And I liked not feeling pain. And I could have very easily wound myself into the life of addiction and bend that and be in that. But it was a choice made at a certain time for a certain reason, right? I believe that we are all one choice away from the circumstances that we judge harshly. And if we can look at life like that, if we can look at the world like that a little bit more often, I feel like we can love each other a little bit better.
I do also. I believe the same thing. I think if it's I think what it really goes back to, and I sometimes believe I could be wrong, or maybe it's just me overthinking and believing everyone has the same thing, but I think it goes back to like what you said earlier, which really hit home also, is a lot of us were raised and taught that showing emotion is weakness. It's something that you don't do, you know? So when we get put in these positions that our emotions just come, that's another reason why I really believe, like at least for myself, that when I have those moments where I feel like I'm supposed to do something or I should act and I kind of hesitate a little bit, is because it's out of my character, in the sense that normally I wouldn't care. Like, yes, I care, but I've been noticing that I used to go from, okay, I just got to focus on myself, my family, my loved ones, and lately I've just been noticing every now and then, like, it's been shifting to, it really doesn't matter. I don't care if I know you or don't know you. It's the fact, do you need help? Can I help you? Then do it. That's it. Period. Doesn't matter whether it's something that you, if they're short $1, if they need you to hold the door, if they need directions, if they just need someone to talk to and explain something and take the time to actually listen to them, like whatever it is. And it was like those things before, I used to believe like, I don't have the time for it. I don't want to bother. Like, what's the, like, you get those things where it's like, and it's like, I've noticed those were the things that were pushed on me or taught to me or engraved in my head in some way through things that I was put through in my life, that made me believe, no, you don't do that. You don't do that. So whenever like you get that gut feeling, it's just an emotion. It's not a thought. I didn't have to think of it. I didn't have to plan it out. I didn't have to calculate what I get out of it. It's just something presents itself in that moment that you feel it deep down inside, that you should do something. You see something and you just know it's not right. It's like you said, like you know what good and bad feels like, and when you have enough of one or the other and you're put in a specific situation, things go off and you're like, something's not right here, or I got to get out of here, or I shouldn't be here, or I don't want to be a part of this, or whatever it is. Like those things go off, and that's what really sucks, because we know that now. And it's like, after listening to you and everything, it's like I can relate and I understand where you're coming from. I can't say 100%, that I've been through what you've been through, but I could say I've been through similar things where a lot of things that you're saying, I totally understand what you're saying, man. And it kind of fucks me up a little bit, because it's like you think no one else would get it, you know? And when you talk to other people and you hear them express things like you, it gets to you like, shit, someone else went through something I didn't think anyone would go through, or you wouldn't want anyone else to go through, and then, or they wouldn't feel what you feel, or so it kind of like, it gets me messed up a little bit. I think about it a lot, in the sense of like, are there other people that look at things the way I look at it, or would get what I'm talking about if I were to say it, or so it's I do get what you're saying in that aspect, because it's like, if we were just more open and upfront about stuff with people, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. I'm sorry, I'm getting all like
Don't apologize for
getting in.
feeling.
It's just crazy, because like I said, I'm trying really hard like not to like go there, but it's crazy because like I wasn't expecting this from this stream or from this conversation and from
Mhm.
talking to you. And it's like you said, there's like this thing about you that it just, there's like this, even through here, like you just have this thing about you, and from you talking and me listening to you, it's a thing of, just like V friends, it's like that safe space, that comfortability. And it's because you notice that maybe I could be wrong, but I feel like a good majority of the people that are in V friends, all of us have been through something really, really, I don't want to say traumatic or whatever, because you never know, but it's something that really changed us,
Yeah.
and that really cemented in our minds that things were one way. And it took a motherfucker like Gary V to get a whole bunch of us together to really understand that it doesn't need to be like that. And at
Yeah.
first it was just, oh, we're going to listen to this guy, and yeah, it's real motivational. And then when you actually start meeting the people in the space and you start listening to them, like such as yourself, and you start feeling this other connection with them. It's not just, oh, we know Gary V and we follow him and we know V friends. It's like a deeper thing, and it just makes you want more. It makes you want more of that safeness, that comfortability of being able to speak with someone, or know that if you talk to them, they're listening, or that if you help them, it's not going, it's like you say, you overthink, like you don't want to be the piggy bank for your sister, and you don't want to, like, you overthink about things like that. Like, yes, you want to help, but you don't want to help it make it worse. You know what I mean? So it's like when you talk to these people and you get to know them a lot better and you get like more in their lives, I say it all the time, like we all feel like we owe Gary so much because he's been putting, he documents his life and shares so much that we've been watching, that we feel like we need to tell him everything, and we need to share with him, like, look, this has been, so it's like we don't know what to say if we meet him or if we have the
Well,
opportunity.
he's the first person that I've met that says that it's okay. So when you have that person who finally, for the first time in your life, says it's okay, then you feel like everything wants to come through.
Exactly.
It's finally okay. And he has drawn so many, it's exactly like you say, right? It's like there's a light. This is creating light, and people are drawn to the light. No matter what darkness we have in our lives, no matter what darkness we have felt and endured, at the end of the day, we will always seek the light. And we may not understand how to accept it. We may not understand how to process it. And we may think we can't give it because of where we are. But on a constant and daily basis, I am astounded. Not in a way where I don't think it's possible because I see it every day, but the kindness and the generosity always touches me. The way people are in this community always gives me joy and makes me feel love and sparks that feeling inside of me, even though it happens often. And I'm not surprised by it because it's who these people are. The hardest thing to do sometimes is to accept it, though. We see the light, we want to be the light. Sometimes it's so hard to accept it because we're afraid. It's that fear that's ingrained in us, where it's so much easier to tell somebody how to do it than it is to do it yourself.
Yeah, and that's, I think that's where I'm at in I can't say just, I have a feeling I've been in that position for a long time, but because of meeting people such as yourself and the communities and everything like that, it's been something that I feel like it's getting harder and harder to run away from. You know what I mean? Like now it's like everywhere I go, I got people like, oh, just how are you? Well, you like talk about it. Like, what are you going through? What? And it's like you think it's just, oh, you're just, but then you notice that like even when you disappear for a while, you still have people checking up on you and people asking how you're doing and what's going on and how can I help, and they actually give a shit. And it's just,
Mhm.
I'm not used to that. I'm not used to that, especially when it's people that I don't know from a fucking hole in the wall. You know, you don't know none of these people. And then it's like just from a few conversations, you get to know them a little bit. And then you start thinking like, oh, maybe I'm oversharing, or maybe I should just hold back, or maybe it's not really that. And then you just start learning more and more as time goes on that these people actually genuinely care. And it's not because any other reasons other because they just want to care. They want to show you that there's people out there that care, that you don't have to be alone, and that there's help. Whether no matter what type of help you're looking for, there's help. There's people there willing to help you just because they can. And it's so hard that when you say something like that, it sounds really, it doesn't make any sense. You know, again, because of the way we were raised and what we were taught or what we've been through, we feel like there's no way in hell that there are that people who are carelessly caring just because. It's really hard to wrap your head around that, you know. And then when you start trying to analyze it, you overanalyze it, and then you're like, oh, well, this and that, and then you start coming up with excuses to not accept it. And I'm one of those people. I'm one of those people that I find it really hard to believe that there are other people that really care, that don't know me. Like, why do you care? And it's like, because, bro, like, I just want to know that you're good. Are you all right? You okay? You having a good day? And then they share their day, and then you start noticing, you start caring about these people that you didn't know. And little do you know, within a short amount of time, you have this relationship with people that's stronger than the people you know in person in your life. You start getting more support, you start getting more love, you start getting more time and attention from these people who you really don't even know or shouldn't. Like it confuses me. It gets in my head, like, how do I not get this from people who are my family and friends here in person, but I'm getting it from these other people? Like I have family and friends that literally live like around the block from where I live, and there's like every excuse that you can think of for us not to get together and see how we're doing, or like, but then meanwhile I got people on here that I see are meeting up with each other, like the Texas meetup. Motherfuckers came all the way from fucking Sweden, like just for 3 days. Like I wouldn't even do that for like a friend of mine. Like thinking about that, even me going to the town over, which is probably a half hour away or something, is too stressful for me. So to get on a plane and plan a trip and do, and literally it's for no other reason than just to be around good people. And it's like you saying, it's like it's there. It's it's not like it's being hidden. It's not a secret. Like the support is there, the love is there, the people are there. Like go get it, go accept it. But again, it's like you're saying, we start thinking, like we start fighting it. It's like one of those things. It's like, yo, this isn't normal. We're not used to this. So like back up. So like I agree with that, and I get where you're coming from, because I'm one of those people. I feel like I don't know if I'm ever gonna get over it. I keep thinking like it's better, and then I get in these situations where I'm like, okay, no, this is a little overwhelming, and I'm not ready for this, and my social battery isn't like, I can't handle it. I need to go and recharge, and again, the overthinking. People will take it like it's a personal thing, when really it's like, no, it's not that. I need to go and get myself back together. It's like you said about your daughter, how she has to go and take the time for herself and then come back. I'm the same way, but with like a lot of people. I used to be really outgoing and like putting myself out there. I used to be a music artist, and I used to feel like, oh, I need all the attention on me. So I had no problem doing it. And then just certain things happened in my life that just got me to be more embarrassed of who I am for whatever reason. But it wasn't because I was really embarrassed. I was always putting it's like you mentioned, you put other people first before you. And I was putting everyone else's thoughts and emotions and feelings before mine. If I did something, or if I wanted to try something, it wouldn't be, am I going to enjoy this? How is it going to be? How hard is it? Like what? The first thing always, and still to this day, and it kills me, and I don't know how to get rid of it. People say, but it's a lot easier said than done. I don't know how to not care about other people's feelings, in the sense that if I want to do something, the first thing that pops in my head is my kids. My kids are old enough now where they're on social media and everything. And there's only so much that, like you mentioned, there's only so much you can like protect them from and everything, as far as what they're going to see and be exposed to. But at the end of the day, like if you did your part as a parent and showed them enough of what's right and wrong, it's like you said, things are going to click, and they're going to know what to be around and what not to be around. For my kids, when I think of doing stuff, I overthink, like they're gonna see stuff, they'll be embarrassed. Their dad is doing this online or making content, or you know what I mean? I'll think of that. Or I'll start rushing to the thought of, oh, like family members or the mother, like me and the mother of my kids aren't together no more. So then I'll overthink about that, like, oh, this is gonna be more reason for her to be like, oh, this loser, this guy, this, because like despite whatever I don't share, like yes, I have a life beyond this, but it's at the same time, there's a certain way you have to present yourself online and how you want to go about things and whatnot. So it's like I always, instead of overthinking about those things, like, oh, what are my rates going to be if I do this online, or am I going to get likes, or I don't even care about that. I'm always like, am I going to embarrass the people who know me personally,
Mm-hmm.
and are they going to be ashamed of what I'm doing? Like, is it going to be someone's going to, yo, that's your dad? Look, this dude, or this is the guy that you were telling us about, or this is your friend, that's your homeboy, that's your cousin, that's your son, your brother, you get what I mean? And at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, I have no issue doing this. I don't care. But what bothers me is that I know other people care. Why? Or like maybe they don't, but in my head, like that's what bothers me. And that it goes along with the same thing of just being accepting of love and like support, and just whether you hear that voice or you get that gut feeling, it's being accepting of all that and not overthinking it. Because even in those moments, like I said, I'll feel like I need to do something for a random person that I don't know, and the only thing that's triggering me to do it is like I feel they need it. I've been in that situation. I've wanted someone so much just to come up and hug me, or just to tell me, yo, you all right? Are you okay? And it's like, I didn't get that in those moments. And I know what it made me do, or I know what position it put me in, or I know. So it's like, I always feel like I have to do it. But then again, at the same time, I'm like, it's like you said, you don't want to go to that couple while you're eating, because you're going to look like a crazy person. So you try to do like the still do what you feel you should do, but in a way where you don't compromise yourself being embarrassed or looking crazy. Or, and again, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, you really don't care because you want to do it, but what triggers you is like, how are they going to take it, or how's it going to look like, or how, you know.
One thing I will say to that is that let me be clear that I've gotten to a point where there are plenty of times I look like a crazy person. I want to be very obvious. Absolutely. You know what? And see, this is the thing that you need to say this. You need to tell people you feel this, because one, no, you are not alone in feeling that. I overanalyze everything I do. The reaction to it and how it makes me feel is where I'm trying to change it, right? I realized you can't change. I'm not sure how old you are. I'm 35, okay? I can't change 35 years of muscle memory and action and thought like that,
Yep.
right? I have to train myself. The same way that you have to, like, positive reinforcement for kids or dogs, like, God bless them. But you have to train them. Repetitive action with a positive feeling, right? So one of the things that I do is when I have the self-depreciating thoughts, okay? Those are the first ones that are usually the worst. And under that umbrella is how people are going to negatively judge me for anything that I'm doing. What if they look at what you're doing and they go, damn, I want to do that? Or like, God, my dad is happy when he does this, and I love seeing him happy. Because kids recognize. The other day, I've been so stressed the last couple of weeks, but with that day that I went grocery shopping with my husband, it's the first time that him and I got to spend time together, like a couple hours doing things together, running errands, so he could get out and move around and get some sunshine stuff. I like my husband. I don't just love him. I actually like him. He's a pretty cool dude, right? So I like spending time with him. I came home and my son was like, what happened? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you look happy. People see it. Even if we don't realize it, people recognize our joy. And so if you're finding joy in what you're doing, your kids are going to see it. Your family's going to see it. People around you are going to see what that brings for you, that joy that it brings for you. And the same way that you are sitting here as I speak about certain things and going, damn, I am not alone in it. Someone else understands it. Because even though it doesn't matter if you and I have exactly the same experiences, two different experiences can create the same exact feeling. And that's where we are changed. That's where that darkness and that processing comes from, is the feeling it creates. It's not the situation itself that creates the understanding of what pain and darkness look like. It is the feeling of it that is caused by the situation. The situation can change. The result, the feeling, is the same. And people don't realize there are so many people out there who have those same thoughts. And they show the good part of them doing it anyways, posting the podcast anyways, setting up the scene anyways, inviting people and sending out the message anyways. You see that part. But I think that part is more impactful and powerful and beautiful. What you are doing is so much more beautiful, because I understand that it isn't easy. But because it is want and desire, and you are seeking the light and the joy, you are taking the things that are hard and you're processing them and you're putting them away and you're not letting them stop you. My kids get scared all the time. I get scared of things. But what I tell them and what I'll tell everybody is that it's an old MacArthur quote. I love military generals. I'm real big on military general quotes. My favorite one is from Patton. It's the point of war is not to die for your country; it's to make the other bastard die for his.
Nice.
But having said that, we'll go up to the like nice one. MacArthur has a quote where it is. My brain's starting to like
Hey, you're good. You're good.
I'll have to remember it. It just the
Not a
wind blew and it just went right out the one ear.
I hear you.
I'll remember at some point. I know a lot of people will do that too. Is
Yeah.
you like have something in your brain and then it'll just
Exactly.
come
Yeah.
back up later.
Yep.
So we'll talk about that when we find it again. But yeah, I'll have to tweet it out if we're done with our the podcast part. It was like,
It's definitely wax. It'll be the end of the. No, you got it now.
I got it. Okay, ready? Okay. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the action regardless of it.
I love
So
that also.
not being afraid, brave men who go into battle, they are afraid, but they're doing it anyway because what it means at the end of it, the goal of it, the necessity of it, that's what matters. And we can apply that in everything. Is that do it scared. Nike says just do it. Savvy says just do it scared. Do it scared.
True.
Because you're gonna do it. And at the end of it, you go, holy shit, maybe that wasn't so crazy. Or maybe you go, holy shit, that was as crazy as I thought it was, but it was also exhilarating and mind-blowing, and I want to do it again.
Yeah.
And there's a little less fear next time. So do it scared.
Nah, you're right. Because it's like I said, I even tweeted it before this, and like that's another thing. Like anytime that I tweet stuff, I try my best to treat everything that I post, because after a while I looked at it like, why am I using social media? Before I started doing podcasting and I tried doing my music thing, I looked at it like, why am I on here? Like why am I posting every day? What's like the real point? And everybody's like, oh, just like, and I would ask people, like, they'd be like, oh, you haven't put up a post in a while. I'm like, okay. They're like, well, when are you gonna put something? I'm like, why? They're like, well, you don't want to let people know what's going on. I'm like, again, why? Like, what am I getting from telling people what I'm doing? Oh, well, this person does it. I'm like, all right, I understand that, but that person's like a music artist, or this person has a brand or a business, so they're trying to like that's their purpose of like, that's what they use social media for. Like, that's it. No one really uses it to be social. I'm like, yo, out of all the times that I put up pictures, not one person has DM'd me like happy birthday or how you doing. They give a like, and then that's, so it's like I'd always overthink about like sharing and doing stuff. So then it just got to the point where I was like, if I'm gonna post anything, I have this thing in my head where I'm like, at the end of the day, at some point, my kids are gonna see something I did online or look up, or because it's even me. And in my head, if the internet was big for my parents back in the day and they had something like Facebook or anything, like, I would have went looking for it just out of curiosity to find what my parents. So it's like I think of that. So I felt like, what I'm gonna do from now on, anytime I post or share something, if I have a feeling, I'm just gonna post it, not to cause controversy or nothing, but again, just to share and put it out there on the possibility that there's somebody else thinking the same thing and they just don't want to say it. So like, I share stuff. If I stay up like right before we got on here, I'm like, every time before I do a podcast or I go live, I overthink, I get nervous, I get stressed out. Why? I don't fucking know. Like, I never know if anyone's gonna tune in or not. I used to get anxious and start getting nervous over just 3 people viewing, and one of them was me looking from my phone. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's one of those things, like, But I share it, and it's like you say, you just do it scared, and I put it out there, and I'm like, you know what? I'm scared and I'm nervous, but I got this. And then you even say it's just a conversation, and it's true. Like, we tend to give things more power than they really deserve. And we tend to make things seem a lot more complicated or worse than they really are. And we it's not until you really get to hear someone else's story that you realize you think you got it bad until you hear someone else, and someone else express their feelings and their thoughts and everything like that. And again, what bugs me out about this also, like I said, I've been trying to avoid all this like stuff about praying and just thinking of things in a religious aspect and like as signs or you know and again, I felt like after talking to you, I'm like, was that the reason I was nervous? Like, I keep trying to run from this. And again, we had a conversation I wasn't expecting about something that really, like, I don't know how many times, like, you just kept saying things. And for whatever reason, I'm like, yo, that's crazy that she's saying this. I was literally thinking about this, like, the other night. I didn't go to sleep. I was thinking about this morning. And you were just saying all this stuff. I'm like, yo, I started overthinking, like, did I post something today that, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those. But then at the same time, in the back of my head, it's like, no, stupid. Like, there's no more running. Like, just shut up and listen. You like everything you were saying, I felt like was something I needed to hear because, like, it's just a lot of things. Like, you just went from one thing to another, and for some reason, it was just really resonating and connecting with a lot of similar situations that I've been going through, and it's just crazy. So I felt like it's like, again, you said do it scared, and I did. I'm not gonna lie, for whatever reason I had like this nervous feeling talking to you today. I don't know why. Like, normally I'm nervous about going live, but for whatever reason I kept like, well, like, what if like the conversation goes left, or if I don't know what to ask her and I don't. And then as soon as I saw your face and you started smiling, I'm like, all right, this is gonna be different for some reason. Like, I had this gut feeling like, all right, this is gonna be good. And then as soon as you started talking and everything, like, I don't know, my heart just like exploded or something, and it's like, just shut up and listen, and this is what you needed to hear, this is what you've been avoiding, this is. And it's just crazy. It's just goes to show, it's like you said, sometimes, like, we need to hear it, and it's something that we need to do. And something told you to say those things, something told me to reach out to you. Even in the DMs, I told you, you were on my list of people that I wanted to speak with. And there was literally two occasions, and I spoke with this who was I with yesterday? Oh man, I want to make sure I get his name right. JB. I was talking to
JB, yeah.
yeah. And even with him about it, I was like, there's so many times that I composed a DM to send to you, or I sent that I want to send to certain people, and it's not the same copy paste DM. I try to keep
Yeah.
it real, like original. So it's like, I literally, after reading your bio and after seeing your streams and after like looking at your interaction and everything, because it's not to be like a stalker or nothing, but I want to make sure that the people that I speak with are people that I know are actually going to want to talk and actually going to. So I try to do a little bit of homework so I don't go into like, blind. And the more and more I was looking into your stuff, like, I was like, I really want to talk to her. Like, I just feel like we would have a good conversation, or like I would learn something different, because like I feel like I could relate to this or that. Or so there were so many times that I composed a DM and I would delete it because for whatever reason, I got nervous. I'm like, maybe I'm not ready to have this conversation with this person, or maybe this person doesn't even want to talk to me. So it was crazy again that you reached out to me, and I was like, yo, like, she was literally like the third person right here that I wanted to like, and I didn't think you would believe. That's why I sent it to you. And I'm like, yo, like, look, like, so it's things like that honestly have been really getting to me, because it's been happening more often than not. And then talking to you, and the way that I like the way that we think, perceive things from what we believe in and our experiences. I think like that. I believe that like, everything happens for a reason. And if you get this instinct or this gut feeling, or your hair stand up, whatever it is, and you get that thing, like you're supposed to do something, do it. And again, it goes back to, yes, you're quick to tell other people and give other people advice, but you don't take it yourself. And it's true. I'm one of those people that I get those feelings and I hold back. And I think of like the dumbest excuses why, like, I'm gonna look crazy, or what are they gonna think, and this isn't what I do, and you shouldn't. But you're 100% right. I feel like you literally told me so many things that I needed to hear to just get through the dumb bullshit excuses that I've been giving myself. So I really, really, really want to thank you for that, for being just honest and open and willing to share so much, because you don't get people doing that. And it's not even about like letting people in. Like, I know a lot of people look at it like that, and that's what I'm trying to hope these conversations change. Like, a lot of people look at it like they're exposing themselves, or it's a weakness, or now everyone sees the kink in their armor, or that crack in their crystal ball or their dome, they're like what you were mentioning earlier, like. And it's not because, in all honesty, just because of that, I don't think it makes you look weak or nothing. It just gives people a better understanding of you. And I feel like people like us are fucking dangerous. I don't care what anyone says, whatever we may look like. People like us are fucking dangerous because we've been through things that other people wouldn't really understand, let alone be able to endure or comprehend, and we've done it. We're still here, and we still continue to push through, and for some reason we find it in us to even have the energy to help the next person. So I know it's not easy. I'm trying my best to be a better person every day, and I see that you're an amazing person. So thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
sharing so much. Thank you so much for being an amazing person in this community. um yeah, is there anything else you want to share or that you want to talk about, like?
I really think that like the biggest things I want to leave is that, just we are not alone in it. No matter how hard that is to understand when you go through unique situations or moments, you are never alone in it. You don't have to be alone in it. And even if it's not reaching out, accept the reach out. We have such a hard time accepting help, even if it's just an ear for someone to listen. There is absolutely no amount of darkness, and I hope that I have, in the last couple hours that I can't believe as time flies, that I have done what I believe truly in my soul is my purpose, and that is to show what the darkness is looked like, and to show that from that darkness light can be produced. It can come from it, and it's not perfect. I'm not perfect. I love that you said people like us are dangerous, because people talk about how kind I am in this community. That's because this is who I want to be. But understand, I am capable of violence.
Fuck yes.
I grew up in the streets. I grew up in the Tres Reyes and Los Vratos. I grew up in the streets in Southern California on the border of Mexico. Okay. I know what that looks like. I grew up in the world, and I went into the army, which is just another type of gang. Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to tell you right now, I am capable of violence. I am capable of protecting and being strong. That's the warrior part, right?
Yep.
I have like a warped sense of humor. There are so many facets to me that I think everybody is like that, right? And we're afraid to show all different things because people will say, "Oh, you're like pretending one way or another."
Yep.
There are so many faces to me, and it's not me being. I struggle with being authentic at times, because I do believe, and I have that thought process where I think, oh, people are gonna not be able to like combine these two personality traits, right? The dangerous side or the dark humor when I have the mom moments, right? I'm a mom and I have the mom moments, and I tend to mom everybody, but I'm always looking at those things and going, you need this or you need that, whatever the case may be. But don't be afraid to show all aspects of who you are, because you're afraid of people not being able to align them. There's a phrase and a thing that I want to leave you with, because I feel like it's one of the most impactful things that I've ever heard. And it is that everybody is living in their own world. And you should never attribute to malice what could be attributed to ignorance. Not necessarily willful ignorance, but people can so often be wrapped up in their own understanding of things that they unintentionally will create negativity when it's not meant that way. But if you seek that negative light, you're going to find it. You're going to find it no matter where you are. But the same way we seek that, we have to turn it around. We have to practice kindness in order to get good at it and to feel comfortable with it. We have to practice generosity in a pure form in order to feel good about it and comfortable with it, where we don't have those side feelings because of how we understand things and don't want to be taken advantage of, right? Looked at as weakness. We have to practice accepting ourselves. One of the things that I have done that has changed is when I have those negative thoughts, my first thoughts, right? When you say, oh God, you're so stupid. Why'd you say something like that? Say it out loud. We say it in our head and it's a thing, right? But if you say it out loud, like with your voice, God, Savannah, you are so stupid. Oh, that hits different,
True.
right?
True.
And then you have to look at it and ask yourself, what am I really saying to myself? It's so much easier to say it in our heads, but you say it out loud and really force that onto yourself in that voice. Or if you say it, but put somebody else's name there, ooh,
Yo.
it starts to hit different and you realize, and it's a practice. You have to practice it. You have to practice faith. You have to practice kindness. We are not going to innately just be everything we want to be because the world sucks and people are assholes and we grow up in trauma and darkness. So we have to break those conditions by practicing what we wish to see in the world. So if you want to see kindness, practice it. If you want to see success and drive, practice it. Push yourself harder past the point of understanding or where you want to be. Practice and do it scared. I want to tell you though too, and this is for you specifically as well, but it can be for also anybody who's listening. I cannot make you a Christian. I can't convert you to believing in Christ. I can't make you believe Jesus died for your sins. The only thing I'm capable of is sharing my story and sharing the part that God had in it. The same way that you didn't expect this conversation, I did not expect to have it either. I don't hide my faith. I don't hide how much it affects me, but I generally am trying to be respectful of others. And I do know that it is a really hard topic for a lot of people. And so I try and show my faith and show what Christ looks like with my actions. And then when people ask me why I'm kind or why I love or why I do this, then I get to tell them because Jesus loves me and I feel secure in that and I have grace and it's so beautiful and peaceful. The same way you do it scared in everything in life and in the world. The difference is that when you do it for God, when you do it to clean your, to express yourself, there's no expectations. You don't have to think about how he's going to think because we would not exist if it weren't the will, if we weren't precious and valuable and loved. And I know that the same way I can do it, so many others can. You can look back and you can see the moments of light. Be that light and be honest with who you want to be, what that's going to require, and how you have to correct yourself and how wrong. I am so wrong. I am wrong when I tell myself I'm not good enough. I am wrong when I tell myself that I am not loved. Those are wrong statements. It is the voices and the training and the muscle memory that causes them in the first place. But it's okay to be wrong because you can correct, you can train, you can learn. You're all capable of it. For me, that's in my faith. It gives me strength. People will ask me why I believe, and I will tell you this. I don't just believe in God. I don't just believe that Jesus existed and died for me. What I believe is that my pain has a purpose and that every moment from the beginning of my existence till now is designed not because it was easy or because I was meant to suffer and that was some type of positive entertainment for beings above. It was meant because by healing, I'm able to heal. By loving, I'm able to love. By learning what kindness looks like and what grace looks like and what understanding looks like from a source where, whether I deserve it or not, I am loved and I'm whole. You don't learn that on earth necessarily. People like you and I, we haven't had that from the beginning. We didn't start with that. We didn't start with that unconditional love. But we know what it looks like now. I have children, you have children.
Yeah.
We understand what unconditional love looks like.
Yeah.
Even if we haven't gotten it from or understood it from a parental source, we are loved the way we love our children, and it's by God. And the same way we can't control our children and everything that they do, we are not meant to be robots or like anatomic creatures that just do what they're told to do in this like perfect little rhythm. We are meant to create love and joy and light and evolve. We can't do that without pain.
True.
You don't understand what the brightness of a candle means if you haven't sat in the darkness. Those are the things. The world gives us that pain. God does not. God gives us the endurance to get through it and to grow from it. Not the pain itself. He gives us the good stuff for it. The same way we cannot stop our children from falling on a skateboard, but we can give them pads and a helmet and knee pads and all that stuff because we want them to adventure, we want them to grow, we want them to become things, new people. So we can't stop them from being in danger and dealing with the repercussions of dangerous situations, but we can take care of them in whatever way we can during and after. And I truly and with my whole heart believe that God's doing that for me, that he is doing it for you, that we are being put where we need to be the light for others, and also to take in the light from others to start to heal ourselves too.
I believe in that also. I'm starting to try to accept that, but I do believe that.
It's a process.
Yeah, it is. It
but
is.
Just whether it's you or anybody else, I say this with genuine emotion, with love, with because if people can hate for no reason, we can love for no reason.
100%.
We don't have to have a condition to loving others. You are a human being who feels and has experienced, and I love you. And I don't want you to hurt. I want you to experience joy. I want you to have happiness in your life, in your moments. And I want you to fight and go through the hard parts and make it out and feel that accomplishment and that love and joy and feeling that comes after it when you've completed those things. I want that for you. And I want that for everybody. I want, whether they're listening now or they listen later or somehow this just like clips and goes around somewhere, I want you to know that you are loved and that you are able to love and that you don't have to deserve love. You can just have it. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to deserve it. Here it is.
I love that. I don't think enough of us hear that or have that. So to have more people like you in the world, I'm truly grateful for. Thank you so much. You have no idea. I'm really, really, really happy we had this conversation.
I am too.
I'm grateful that you actually initiated the conversation and that you reached out, because if not, I think I probably still would have been debating on whether I should have DM'd you or not to be on here. So
It's funny too, because you talk about your thought process with it, and I actually sat there too with that message going, like, how egotistical am I going to sound? Do I sound like, am I going to sound like, well, and this is the thing, right? We talk about that. Is this like, is he going to think that I think like too much of myself, that I think I'm important enough to be here, like, and a part of this?
Not
Or like,
even.
you know, maybe he doesn't even know who I am. I'm gonna send this message and he's like, no clue whatsoever who I am. And so it's not gonna, it's be like, who the hell is she? What does she think? Like she wants to do something like this. But that's where you go and you say, those conversations are not gonna heal me. Those ideas are not going to make me stronger. And so I'm going to take the chance of hearing no and accepting that and just put it out into the world. What happens to it after that? I've done it. I got
100%.
no control. Let go.
100%. Yo, that's what I'm trying to accept more. Also, trying to just say yes to things and go with my first instinct and follow my gut. And like I said, it's like you're saying, the worst thing that can happen is someone says no, or it doesn't really turn out the way that you expected. But at least you did it, because I feel like a lot of us have more regret on not taking those chances and not following our gut and not,
What
following
could
our
have been.
Yep. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm sick and tired of that regret and those what ifs. So I'm trying to avoid that. But I'm truly, truly grateful. Thank you so much for you giving your time, for coming on, for sharing your story, for talking to us. I'm actually looking forward to seeing if we could do this again, because I would love to talk to you more, whether it's about this or any other topic. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Maybe
So
I'll answer whatever questions you actually had for me.
yeah, we could do that. I'm definitely gonna save them, because yeah, they were definitely. I wanted to, like, I was thinking about bringing them up, but I was like, yo, they're so totally off topic of this, and I really don't want to get off of this. And like I said, I really felt like I needed this conversation, so I didn't want to ignore it. I didn't want to find excuses to steer away from this. Whether it was me that
Love
needed
that.
to hear everything you were saying, or whether it was someone who tuned in, we literally got, from what I see across all platforms, we have 61 people who've been tuning in and watching. And so I'm pretty sure this resonated with someone. I'm more than sure someone needed to hear this, and this helped someone in some way. And yeah, I'm really grateful. I'm really happy right now. I don't know how else to put it. I'm really
I
just
love that. That makes me happy. I'm so glad you have that feeling right now. And just as a like a final thing, I mean, I'm on TikTok at Not So Savvy Living. I'm on Twitch at the same. My handles on social media are either SavyD, Savage Savvy D, or Not So Savvy Living. Send me a DM. I'm
anyone.
not
For
kidding.
anyone who's looking to talk to her and everything, I'm going to make sure, whether you're watching this, wherever you're watching this, or wherever you're listening to this, I'm going to make sure that in the description I have all of your social media content. So if there's anything specific you want me to put on there, just send it to me, and I'll make sure that I put it in the description. And also, it's going to be shared. Any clips that I make from this, it's going to be shared below it also, and I'm going to tag you. And again, if
Awesome.
there's anything that you would like from this, that you would like me to clip and share with you, audio, whatever, I'll do that as well. So anyone who's looking to connect with Savvy, or would like to have a conversation with her, or even have her on your podcast or any live streaming that you're having, and you will want to reach out with her, please check the description of wherever you're watching. If you're watching this live, if you're watching a pre-recording, whether it's on Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok, or even not TikTok, I got to get on that. I got to get on TikTok, or on X. In the description, you'll find all the contact information, so you can reach out to Savvy and you can show her some love and support also. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We've been rocking for a good 2 hours and 13 minutes, and you guys have been chilling here and hanging out in the chat and showing some love. I really appreciate it. Savvy, thank you so much for coming on,
Thank you.
sharing. I really enjoyed the conversation, and truly, I really need it.
Same.
So thank you so much.
That fills my bucket. Like Ella
Oh,
would say, it
goodness.
fills my bucket. Thank
Thank you.
you. And I look forward to our next conversation.
Yes, me too. And hopefully, if things go well, I'm trying my best to make it to VCon. I don't know if you'll be getting there or not. So if you do,
So I have my surgery on May 9th. I will be having a double mastectomy and reconstruction. So I'm getting new boobs out of it, which is
oh man,
nice.
there you
Listen,
go.
I did ask him if they
Screw it.
could put squeakers in them, and apparently they can, but my husband has no interest. He said the dogs will probably be a problem.
I know.
Um, so I'm like considering like a casting for memory's sake, right? Um, but no, I'm getting new boobs and getting rid of the ones that are trying to kill me, which is super awesome. But the recovery from that's quite a bit of a
Yeah, no,
process.
I know.
Yeah. And so I just don't think that I will be ready by August. Unfortunately, this year, I have been hearing lots of little birdie thought processes on 2025. And I told my husband, and we both agreed, this year is my year of healing. 2025, that's my year of
Yes.
living.
Yes.
Boy, howdy, we are going to be
Yes.
going places, doing things, living life, and being just everywhere we can with this
100%.
community.
So even if you don't go to VCon, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a bunch of other stuff. Just like, you know, Ben and all of them, they did their own little special VFam meetup. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be other things, whatever opportunity show. But best believe that if you are any of them, I'm going to make sure that I take the time to go and see you personally, to give you a hug and to thank you, because I really do appreciate this conversation. I really did need it. You don't understand. And again, to everyone who's been
But I do, right?
yeah, you do. But again, you do. That's the crazy
I
part.
got you. I got
So
you.
everyone who's been tuning in, thank you so much for the love and support. Make sure you go and show Savvy some love. Go give her a follow. And I love you guys. Stay safe. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.